We stand here today, remember the dream. If you are a 10, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today, remember the dream. If you are a 10, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today, remember the dream. If you are a 10, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today, Kedosha.
And we're back with Micah Talk. I'm your host, Kane Aldinger, and we have a special guest today on our show, the president of Temple Micah, Micah Aldinger.
Hello, Kane. Thanks for having me. Let me first correct you that I'm not actually the president of Temple Micah. I'm part of our newly reorganized executive leadership team. So it's me along with two others.
Huh. How's it going?
It's going really well. I have to say, I like the way we've organized ourselves at Temple Micah. And I like that we're flexible enough to change and try new things.
You know what? That is a nice thing to have in a temple, an organization, a little bit of the ability to adapt. Anyway, so we've been going to Micah. This was the first place I believe we went. And what do you think has kept us coming back all these years?
That's a great question. And I think the first thing that we were talking about was those Tot Shabbats. Those were always so fun when Jonah was little. Yes, and we even had Eva's naming ceremony at a Tot Shabbat. And then the Mishpacha program has been really wonderful for our family. We're in our 7th year, and Jonah is now going to be a bar mitzvah this year.
It's come a long way. Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, when you say like the folks that go to Micah, I mean, it's like everybody's so cool and so diverse, and
we've met a lot of nice people.
Yeah, and we also have a softball team.
We have a softball team.
Yeah, these are our jerseys. Yes, we play on Sundays. If you see anybody in a shirt like this, they're a fan of the softball team or possibly one of the players. Anyway,
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
I'm Sherry Lockhart, and I have been a Micah member for over 30 years. From 1998 to 2000, Marty Smith and I served as co-presidents with a great deal of wonderful help from Nancy Beaver. Over the years, I have been involved in other ways. I was religious school director, I was a regular board member, and most recently, I was a teacher in the Mishpachah program. 6 years ago, I chose to become a bat mitzvah, following in the footsteps of my 3 children. When I've lost loved ones, the Micah community was always there for us with food and comfort and hugs. And Rabbi Mo officiated at the funeral of my parents in New Jersey. Also, at Happy Times, Rabbi Mo officiated at the weddings of 2 of my children. So Micah holds a very special place in our hearts. Years ago, when the temple was much smaller in numbers, we would clean up after services and onyx, and we would joke that we'll know that the temple has made it when we don't have to stay to vacuum before we go home. So I guess we've made it. Just as the Jewish people have survived over so many years through difficult times, so has Temple Micah. And I hope that our special congregation will be blessed for years to come. Shana Tova.
Hi, I'm Judith Cassell-Mamet. My husband and I joined Temple Micah in the summer of 2001 because some of our friends were already members here and we were raising our children together. We right away found this warm and supportive community. Then sadly 9/11 happened and we turned to this community for solace. Over the years, we've shared many times of needing support from Micah, as well as many really wonderful times, like the bar mitzvahs of our children and various celebrations that we've really enjoyed. Micah has both lifted the burden for us when things are tough and magnified our joy.
Happy New Year. Lashana Tova from the Titleman family. The Micah community has been very significant to me for a variety of reasons. Radical inclusiveness, its progressive liberal nature, how welcoming all of the families have been to my family over the years, how challenging it has been to me in my thoughts, ideas about Judaism and about other social things that we've been discussing over the years too. But I'll tell you one thing that's been very significant to me just in the last 6 months has been super significant is during the lockdown and the pandemic. And it really struck home how significant Micah was. You know, in the time when communities across all sorts of communities had to respond very quickly. The first call I got when the pandemic hit and the lockdown happened, of all my various communities that I'm associated with, the very first call I got checking on me was from one of the temple board members, just making sure I was okay. That really meant a lot to me. It meant a significant amount. And then the second thing that really struck me was how quickly the temple pivoted from the in-person services and other programming to the ability to offer online programming and services for connection purposes. And that has been really significant to be able to provide opportunity for us to stay connected during this time. That's been significant to me.
Hello, members and friends of Micah. Philip Roth noted that he has, quote, always been far more pleased by my good fortune in being born a Jew than any of my critics may begin to imagine. It's a complicated, interesting, morally demanding, and very singular experience. And I like that. End quote. I understand that Jewish rituals and practices are experienced as an individual, as a family, and as a community. And it is within this Micah community that is comfortable with a variety of levels of practice and of backgrounds amongst its congregants that I thrive. Micah has provided me a space to learn and to grow, as well as for me to help others to learn and to grow. It has shown that it can work for the community beyond its own walls, and I like that. Welcome to our place.
For most of my adult life, I thought of myself as a Jew in name only. My break with Judaism was result of my upbringing in a rigid conservative temple outside of Chicago, where I disagreed with most of what I was taught and expected to believe. But after 45 years, I began to wonder if it was possible to embrace some spiritual aspect of Judaism without changing my beliefs. and that was when I was introduced to Temple Micah. My experience with the Micah community gave me a more meaningful connection with my Jewish roots. I discovered that you didn't just accept diversity and differences of belief, you encouraged this diversity. I was given support to explore and define how I choose to be a Jew. And for the first time, I got to be the kind of Jew I wanted to be when I was a teenager back in Chicago, wanting my temple to embrace me for who I was and to commit to and fight for social justice. So thank you, Micah, as together we strive to do justly, love mercy, walk home.
Good evening. As I reflect upon the things at Temple Micah that have been significant to me, the first thing that came to mind was what a marvelous congregation this has been for our family to experience through B'nai Mitzvah. In addition, I consider how marvelous Temple Micah has been as an accepting congregation for my non-Jewish spouse, June. She's always felt comfortable here. Another thought has been that Temple Micah allowed me to experience more ritual than I had experienced in a Reformed congregation as a child. And I've always found that more fulfilling than I expected it to be. A final thought is that Temple Micah gave me a great opportunity to experience some leadership roles, both as president and as treasurer. One of my fond memories is when I was treasurer, I was asked to look at the books and see if we could afford to offer Rabbi Mo a reasonable salary when we were first trying to hire him. I looked at the books and made many projections that at the time felt rather rosy, but they were built on enough foundation that the board of directors took them at face value and went ahead and approved the hiring of Rabbi Mo. As it turns out, during the next many years, the projections I made were really quite adequate, and we've, of course, done very well. Again, thanks for the opportunity to share these few thoughts. I wish everyone a Happy New Year and an easy fast. Good night.
Hi, Joanna Lattis here, current leadership team member. Temple Micah community to me embraces diversity and encourages growth, spiritual growth, educational growth, and I appreciate all the openness and warmth we've received from the Micah community to our family. Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm Helen Spiegel. Let me first share my hope that we all have a new year of health and peace and stability. So the question posed to us past presidents was, how has Temple Micah been a significant community for us? Having just celebrated a big birthday, don't even ask, and having been a member of Micah for quite a while, I have a long view. The pandemic hasn't changed the significance of Temple Micah. In fact, it has heightened it. So it's really quite simple for me. I get to join in prayer, reciting ancient words, with people I know and with others I hope to know. I get to study and discuss with people and listen to those with varying points of view. I get to participate in leadership and influence the present and the future of Temple Micah. I get to celebrate life events, some joyous and some somber. I get to spend time with the rabbi, with whom I can debate and drink the occasional whiskey. I have history with Temple Micah by virtue of just being present for a while. This community is where I want to be. Is it a perfect community? No. Could I be the same elsewhere? Most likely. but I believe that we create community by being present and by participating. It is not a fixed entity into which we step. Community, as all relationships, requires an energy and attention. So my wish for me and for you is that in this coming year, we make happen the community we want, and more than ever, the community we need.
One.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Hal Bruno. And Micah has been a significant community to me because Micah, quite simply, is home. Micah is the place where I rediscovered my Judaism with a lot of help from Rabbi Morris, Rabbi Cohen, and congregants past and present. Micah is also the place where my family had 3 B'nai Mitzvahs, 1 including mine at the age of 45, 1 conversion, and 2 memorial services. Micah is important to me and has significance to me in that the friendships that I formed at Micah are lasting and forever. I get to talk with my Micah friends about matters and issues important and trivial. Micah allowed me, without any political effort, to become a member of the board as well as president, where I got to work on some skills that I didn't have as a corporate litigator. Micah sent me on a trip to Israel, where I learned more and discovered more in a week than I have probably in my whole life. Micah got me involved in social justice, and in particular spurred me on to start taking pro bono cases for the Rocky Mountain Immigration Advocacy Network and the Sanctuary Movement. And last but not least, Micah gave me a community to play softball on Sunday mornings. Thank you, Joel and Kane, for not making me have any sort of leadership responsibilities and just to show up and have fun. Shana Tova, everyone. And next year in, hopefully, 14th, not 14th. Oh, I screwed it up.
Okay. Stop.
Can you back it up?
Hi, my name is Mark Ruskin. I was president of Temple Micah from 2003 to 2005 and learned a great deal about community during that period. My first year was the year that Rabbi Adam Morris came to our synagogue, and we engaged in a great deal of adaptation and change, all of us. But we also showed tremendous openness and resilience and connectedness. And if those aren't the key elements of community, I don't know what are. In my second year, we had a fiscal crisis, as congregations often do, but people dug deep because they cared about what Micah had been, what it was, and what it could be. Maybe I didn't learn as much about community, though, from any group as I did from the 8- and 9-year-olds that I taught in religious school. Those 3rd and 4th graders and I learned about tribes and Exodus. We learned about Mishkan and community and the building of community. And we learned about Jewish food because, honestly, if you're going to teach 3rd and 4th graders, you better have snacks someplace in the classroom. But the point was that we learned to anticipate, to celebrate, and to be with one another. And those 3rd and 4th graders are now all in their mid-20s, and many of them are still connected to one another. And that's community.
Hello, Temple Micah community. My name is Matt Cohen. I'm the immediate past president of the congregation, and I wanted to wish everybody a very happy new year. I'm standing at Bluff Lake because several years ago, Rabbi Morris led a Shabbat Shuvah from the very spot that I'm standing. At that service, he challenged us to look at our world, to look at our Jewish identity in a different way, to find a new perspective. He encouraged us to look at the reeds behind me from up high and from down low, to watch the light play across the water, and to notice things that maybe we wouldn't notice in other times. He encouraged us to think about our own Jewishness differently And I think that's what I appreciate most about Temple Micah, is the opportunity to do things in our own way, to have our own experiences and our own Jewish identity. And I think Temple Micah empowers all of us as professionals, as staff, and as congregants to learn about our Jewish identity and our spirituality in our own way. I know this year's been very challenging for me, and I'm hoping that the next year brings better times. Happy New Year to all. I hope that 5781 brings you all many blessings. Take care.
I'm Marty Smith. When I was in my mid-40s, I had an injury which was life-changing and completely turned my world on its head. In trying to figure out how to deal with it, I figured that reading about people who had managed to continue with living, even while in the midst of a nightmare, would give me some ideas about what to do. So I started reading memoirs of Holocaust survivors. As my journey unfolded, I found myself, both naturally and compellingly, more and more involved with spirituality and with Micah, which we had joined 3 years earlier. I developed an increasing sense of being a part of the spiritual community of the world, if not the universe. And Micah, as a microcosm of this, the spiritual and interpersonal community of Micah became part of my foundation. I was working through this process, work which unexpectedly resulted in my making strides in becoming a richer, fuller, and more tempered person, a better person than I was before my injury. Coincidentally, David Hiller, a wonderful man from the Micah board, asked me if I had anything to say for a sermon on Rosh Hashanah. We had no rabbi at the time, no one to give a sermon, so David asked me. That's how desperate the board was. I told him that yes, I had something to say. In that talk to the congregation, I spoke of the journey I was on, how difficult yet how transformative it was. I spoke of how enriched, fuller, more tempered and better I was as a result of this challenge, and how the barrenness of the most grinding and painful challenges can be cultivated to yield sweetness and richness, like getting honey from a rock. After I spoke, I was embraced in the warmth and support of the Micah community, which I returned in kind. I became involved in the building of the community of Micah, which became an integral part of the tapestry of who I am, as I, in turn, became a part of the tapestry of Micah. 3 years later, we had a rabbi to give the sermons on Rosh Hashanah, and 5 years later, I became co-president of Micah with Sherry Lockhart. The community of Micah, all of it, all of you, is an integral part of the very foundation beneath my feet and the warm blanket of human community which surrounds me.
Temple Micah is significant to my family and me because it is such a warm and welcoming environment. We have made so many lifelong family friends with whom we enjoy celebrating holidays and Shabbat services. In addition, the innovative Mishpachah program has allowed me to study with my family. Temple Micah has been an amazing experience.
Hi, my name is Bernie Mazer. To talk about how Micah is a community for me, I can give you a small bit of my history. I was raised in an observant household in a very traditional shul. It was strong on ritual and rather short on the ethical, moral stuff. At an early age, I turned my back on organized religion. I was living in Greeley and moved to Denver. Now, when I was living in Greeley, I worked for the temple there. I was taught in their Sunday school. I told myself it was for the rather meager salary I received, but I did attend a lot of adult Torah classes. But I never set foot in the temple for services. And I think maybe there was a renewed interest in becoming a Jew again. When I got to Denver, my cousins, Judy and Al Goldberg, some of you may remember them, invited me to Rosh Hashanah dinner and to go to temple with them for the high holiday services. I remember being kind of leery about setting foot in the temple again. But I walked into Micah, I sat down, and I was home. Absolutely, unequivocally home. The warmth and acceptance of Micah enfolded me, it welcomed me, and it made me part of a community that I really didn't know I was yearning for. I joined Micah as a member that night. I met my husband at Micah. I was married at Micah, and I buried him with my Micah family. I was president for 3 very difficult years in Micah's history, but we made it through, and so did I. I'm still not so very observant of the ritual stuff. Hey, I know how to do it. I can do it, and occasionally I do it. But I find that the moral and ethical and intellectual parts of Judaism are much more a part of my being. I am rather a solitary person by nature, but Micah is still home to me. It is my community.
If you are a 10, then we're Nitzavim. We stand here today, remember the dream. If you are a 10, then we're Nitzavim. We stand